Financial anxiety grows and people are saving more. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. Still working through my morning stein of coffee. And I thought we would have a look at this article from news.com. It's actually quite encouraging. Young Australians are embracing the joy of missing out as financial anxiety takes its toll. I think this is good news. I think this is the sign of a generation starting to realize what's really important, perhaps coming of age. Now, if we'll just jump over to one of my many favorite websites, Trading Economics, you can see this is the household savings rate in Australia, and it's increased to 4.8% in the third quarter of 2019 from 2.3% in the second quarter. So let's have a look here. The average was 9.45% from 59 until 2019, reaching an all-time high of 20.4% in the third quarter of 73, and a record low of negative 1.9% in the fourth quarter of 2002. So here you go. I mean, look at that. Look at that going down. This could almost be just demographics, couldn't it? Generations are aging. But look at that. Now, if we just compare that to some other things. I mean, wage growth. I just love this RBA prediction chart. Yeah, poor guys there. I need to make this on a t-shirt, I reckon. But if we look at that, how badly it's gone, and just consumer confidence trending down. This morning we looked at also the Roy Morgan consumer confidence data, all heading down. It aligns with this. It makes sense. It makes sense that people are plowing the savings because they're worried. Because they're worried. Let me know, guys, if you're, my age or below, if you've started to embrace the joy of missing out, or even some of the older guys. I know a lot of the older guys on the channel, or shall we say more experienced, love this lifestyle, the joy of missing out or going on your own. Sometimes when you shed a lot of the materialistic rubbish that you drag around with you, it can be quite good living a much simpler life. So let's have a look at this article. Financial anxiety is keeping close to half of Australians up at night, with Generation Z and Y feeling it the most. More than 55% of Generation Y and 64% of Generation Z worry daily about money, and more than 60% feel anxious about their financial future, according to the latest Choosy Dollar report. This anxiety has led the younger generation to become the most likely to have savings goals, with over 80% admitting to having a savings goal, well above 65% of baby boomers who have the same aim. For many, the only way to get ahead is through sacrifice, and that means embracing the joy of missing out, or JOMO. I've never heard JOMO before. 69% of Gen Z have cut back on guilty pleasures like eating out and entertainment in a bid to save money. Eating out is probably one of the guilty pleasures that we have cut back the most in our family, particularly when it was just Rachel and I, newlywed couple. Even when we had just one child, we'd still sneak away. I used to love my Saturday morning breakfasts. We'd go out to a little cafe, I'd have a nice, literally smashed Ave and toast and that, that was my guilty pleasure, and it actually was pretty expensive. So we also, entertainment, that gets very expensive. When you grow from a family just 2 and 1 to we've got 4 now, with 1 more on the way, we can't afford to eat out. Eat out is just insane. It's a huge cost. It really is. We're probably those people that the restaurant industry hates. For many, though, that is not enough to save money for home ownership goals, in particular with the high cost of living cited as the biggest barrier to savings. Well, yes, cost of living is just crazy at the moment. It's gone up. Even though certain things aren't accounted for in CPI and it's not an actual cost of living, it's still something to consider. Event manager Christy Young used to live and work in Sydney, but the high cost of living meant that she was unable to put any of her money away. Savings. I moved up to Sydney after commuting from Wollongong, and I thought I could make it work, but I couldn't. I didn't save any money, so made the sacrifice to save and commute again. I mean, commuting, well, it can be painful, but sometimes you just gotta do it. Gotta do it, and read a good book on that train ride. During her time working in Sydney for a corporate events company, Miss Young, 34, was earning close to $4,000 a month after taxes, but was unable to put any of it away for her savings. With rent her biggest outgoing, Miss Young made the choice of moving back in with her parents in Wollongong and commute to Sydney. Used to get to the commute, and you get used to the commute and the sacrifices you make. There's a lot more planning that needs to come into a normal day when you have to do a commute that far, and you do sacrifice that and your social and work life to get ahead. Miss Young said many of her friends had similarly made sacrifices in order to save money, and it was just the way things were. I mean, this is the thing also at her age, moving back home with her parents, I don't mean to be mean, but to me that looks like a failure to launch. 34. In your 20s, sure, but 34, that's not that much younger than me. And I'm at the other point where we had our parents living with us. We still have. I've got my father-in-law living with us. It's the other way around. It's not ideal, and in an ideal world, you should be able to have a life and save, but you can't. So to get ahead, I had to sacrifice. Could you? Could you have always had a life and save? I don't think you could have in the past. Previous generations, probably not. Moving back to Wollongong means Miss Young had to commute for 3 hours every day. She said she wouldn't have been able to do that in her 20s. Why not? Why wouldn't she have been able to do that in her 20s? This will be interesting, because that's just like a commute from the Gold Coast to Brisbane, to be honest. That's not too bad. It's an hour and then half an hour driving around each way. At my age, in my 30s, I think the sacrifice is worth it. In my 20s, I wouldn't have thought it was worth it. Being an older person, I know this was the only way I could set myself up independently, she said. The latest housing price figures from the Australian Bureau of Statistics show that the median house price in Sydney is $885,000, closer to the prices back in 2015. For Miss Young to reach the minimum required deposit of $88,500, she'd have to put away more than $300 a week in order to just have enough after 5 years. So that means she'd be nearly 40 and then just starting a mortgage. And what does she have? 20 years? 20 years to pay off an $800,000 mortgage? Why the hell would you do that? Why would you do that? That's even if someone would give her a loan, which Miss Young said in her experience wasn't guaranteed. I visited a mortgage broker who said that on a single income I needed more saved, more deposit and no HEX debt. I'm paying it HEX off through my salary, but they said I had to pay that off completely. And they also said my salary wasn't high enough. She said, oh, this is the thing, guys. Home is what people buy when they settle down together to have a family. I know that's going to be old-fashioned. Everyone wants to do it all themselves. But I think that's a lesson a generation needs to learn. You need to work together to achieve things, particularly in a relationship, particularly a home. Maybe you don't get a home. Maybe you don't need to buy one, need to own one. A lot cheaper renting, more flexibility, particularly if you're single and just enjoying life. Recent government initiatives like the First Home Loan Deposit Scheme are aimed at helping more people onto the property ladder, but Miss Young said house prices are still too high for many Aussies. And here's another thing. Think about this. All the money that she has to save to do this is a consumer who's not spending it on other things in the economy. The government says house prices are coming down, and we should be happy about that, but it's not a massive cut. The government really should do more for first home buyers. Okay, so here she's making a call to the authorities to, make a change and take care of it for her. So, it's pretty stereotypical. Miss Young said her own modest goals meant that she had to severely downgrade her dream of home ownership from a home to a small unit due to property prices. Even in Wollongong, you can't get much for $400,000 anymore. So yes, I can see prices dropping, but not in any significant way, she said. Despite the difficulties, Miss Young rejected ideas that young people were getting comfortable with being retiree renters. Last year, the Australian Home and Urban Institute warned that Sydney millennials were in danger of renting well into their late 40s. So our culture is just changing. We've got similar things in other parts of the world. Miss Young said while it was tough, the goal for many in her age group was to own property before they reached that age. But she's not going to... Are we talking owning it, or are we talking the bank owning it and you paying it off to the bank? The Choosy report backs up Miss Young's statement, as it found more than 43% of both Gen Z and Gen Y were saving up for home ownership. Rent money is dead money to a lot of people, we are taught. It's a gradual progression of life that eventually you will buy. A lot of Australians aren't happy with renting, and if they had a choice, they would choose buying, said Miss Young. So this is the standard trope that we hear all the time. Rent money is dead money. And I really don't agree with it. Honestly, rent money is sometimes the cheaper and smarter option. The cheaper and smarter option. For many young people wanting to buy, Miss Young said to lean on whoever you could to get ahead. It all depends on your situation. If you have the means and opportunity to lean on family and friends, then take the hit and sacrifice to get ahead, she said. Well, I guess that's her argument for moving back home. I mean, it's a mixed messages I'm getting from this. In some ways, I see it as a failure to launch. A failure to launch at 34, still living at home with their parents, regardless of a bloke or a girl. You know, I know that's going to be a bit harsh, guys, but I mean, where were we at 34? We already were pumping out kids, married, we're in our own business. It's a different world, I think. It's a different world. And this is the concern, actually. John Adams shared a tweet where someone shared a personal message with him that this gentleman didn't want to go into home, and it put all these strains on their relationships. You know, he didn't want to go into debt to buy a house, so he broke up with his fiancée. She got angry because it put off having kids, because they wanted to buy a home before they took that journey. And here's the problem. People think you need to have a home before you have kids. You need to do this before you do that. And it's getting in the way of people just getting on with their life. Previous generations have just gone and done it, and they haven't cared. I think that's, going to be a real sad, hard lesson for some people to learn. Let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. Would you be opposed to renting and having a family, or would you put off having a family if you didn't own your own home? I know for me, I kind of put my foot down and go, no, we're not getting an apartment. We're not renting an apartment. We'll find anything we can, so really cheap. And I probably found something really, really cheap. You can tell I'm getting frustrated because I'm doing renovation works, but you'll hear more about that. But still, Rachel and the kids love our place, even though it's pretty tired. But it has that tired charm to it. And I don't need to worry about flammable cladding because hardwood, it takes a bit to get started. Nonetheless, guys, let me know what you think about this. It's a good sign that people are embracing JOMO, the joy of missing out. But the growth of financial anxiety, I think, is also a concern. So I'm split on this. Is it failure to launch, guys, and people returning home? So I've just finished my video, went upstairs to talk to Rachel about it. And then I realized that my wife's age is different to mine. So she was 34 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Yes, 2 years ago. I definitely know my wife's age. So I thought I'd bring Rachel on and get her perspective on this article. Thanks for joining me, honey. So why don't you just share? We've just gone through this article about the joy of missing out. And frankly, I see it as someone failure to launch. So share with the audience what you were doing at 34 years of age.
Well, that was 2 years ago, and 2 years ago I only had 3 children.
Oh, just slack.
So eldest was in kindy, so she was a 5-day fortnight, and my youngest was, well, when I turned 34, she was 3 months old, and then I had Freddie in the middle. Yeah, so he would have been about 2.5.
And as opposed to you going to move back home with your family, have we inherited your father?
No, yeah, we'd inherited. My dad came to live with us, and I was managing a team, working when Mina was at kindy, at home when she wasn't, managing projects and teams. I'd stepped back from an active role because I just had a baby, and
So
I couldn't manage everything.
perhaps this is shaping my perspective in responding to this article.
Oh, we had a mortgage.
Yeah, we had a mortgage.
We had a mortgage. You're paying the mortgage.
And I remember
and the staff
that's when we.
and everything
Oh yeah,
else.
that's fun. I remember that's when we were gonna finish the house off real quick. Years later. Anyway, guys, thank you. Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks.
See you next time. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to help us produce more, I have a Patreon where you can make a small monthly donation. Also have Amazon and eBay affiliate links where we receive a commission every time you make a purchase. We've got an independent reserve affiliate link if you are into crypto trading and want to help us out. And finally, we have our own merch on the Heise Says blog. Thanks for all your support, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye for now.